Welcome back. Wanted to do a video today on a topic that I get a lot of people. I want to say I probably had a couple. I don't know. I probably had a dozen or more people ask this question in the 2.5 years that I've been doing it, and it kind of relates to training. It has to do with a topic that I've mentioned before, which is be your own advocate. And the topic today is switching from within division to division within Prime. So this is a video that's directed to anyone who is coming to Prime, specifically needing training. So it's going to be an experienced driver who has less than a year experience, because Prime's going to make you do some sort of training before they let you go out by yourself if you have less than a year of over-the-road experience. It's also going to relate to anyone who goes through the Prime Student Driver Program, gets their CDL through Prime, and it's also going to relate to anyone who has been hired out of a truck driving school. So you get your CDL, or if you get your CDL any other way, you're going to go through some on-the-job training. And it is the on-the-job training that Prime calls TNT. And TNT, if you're still kind of whole new to this thing, stands for trainer and trainee. So the N is kind of a slang for and. So it's trainer and trainee driving, and it's basically team driving. You'll do maybe a week or so of orientation type driving, especially now if you keep the same instructor from PSD, Prime Student Driver, get your CDL, you stay with that instructor for the TNT phase, they become your TNT trainer. You may not have that week of feeling out, and that's what it is. I use it the term orientation. Basically, it's a get to know you, because you're going to be team driving eventually during the TNT session. And your trainer wants to make sure that they can trust you behind the wheel of their truck while they are sleeping. So that's who this video pertains to. And the topic is switching divisions. And the reason that I have always said be your own advocate is I do these videos about the tanker division. I get a lot of questions about the tanker division. Like I said, I've probably gotten a dozen people, maybe more than that, who have asked me, hey, I just finished TNT in the reefer division, and I'm getting set to upgrade. But I think I'd really rather do tanker. Or, hey, I came to Prime and I always said I wanted to do tanker, but there were no TNT tanker instructors available, so they said, why don't you do reefer? And I've now done my 30,000, 40,000 miles with a reefer truck. Okay, here's the problem with that. And same thing if you finish, you upgrade as a reefer driver, and then a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months later, you say, I think I'd like to switch to the tanker division. Prime will not let you do that without additional training. To switch from a division to another division within Prime, you have to have a year experience. If you have less than a year experience, they're going to make you, and this is similar to if you are hired with less than a year experience, they're going to look at each individual case and say, you've been driving for 10 months, you're pretty close, we're going to send you out for 10,000 miles. It's going to be a few weeks, maybe even 5,000 miles. We're going to send you out for a week or two with a trainer. That way we can evaluate you, and you can learn the tanker portion of it. Bottom line, though, is if you, right after TNT, you're getting ready to upgrade, just because you've learned everything about driving a truck in reefer, they're not going to hand you the keys to a tanker truck and send you on your way. There's still the whole side of tanker that you have to learn. You haven't learned freight lanes, especially if you're going to sit there and say, I want to upgrade to tanker and be a lease operator. I can just about guarantee you're going to fail, especially if you start turning down loads. And not a good plan. Not a good plan at all. So basically, if you finish TNT, you've got your 30,000 miles in TNT, you got credit for your 10,000 miles as a PSD, and you say, okay, I'm ready to upgrade and get my own truck and reefer. But, I really always wanted to do tanker, so how about we look at switching to tanker right now? Well, the head of the tanker division and Prime are going to get together, and they're going to say, okay, we'll switch over to tanker. You're going to have to wait for a trainer. We might not have one available. And you're going to have to redo maybe all of TNT, another 30,000 miles in a tank truck. Now, you probably spent the last 2 months counting down the miles until you got your own truck. You're not going to be very excited about spending 2-3 more months on a trainer's truck to switch over, and you're not going to be making as much money. I can't speak for certain if they would allow you to continue the guarantee. They probably would. If you don't know, Prime does guarantee you $700 a week while you are in training. But if you've just gotten done with TNT and you're set to upgrade, and then you want to go through more training for a different division, I'm not sure that they would continue that. I would have to look into that to know for sure. But again, you're still going to have to go through 2 to 3 more months of training that the previous 2 months, 3 months in reefer would have been not really a waste of time, but you're going to have learned a whole bunch of stuff that you don't ever use or need. Sliding tandems, setting the reefer, all sorts of stuff that you're never going to use. The reefer freight lanes. It's not of any value. So, like I said, I have talked to a number of current Prime drivers who are either at the end of TNT or have less than a year experience, and said, I encourage you to contact the head of the tanker division if you want to switch, but just be aware the last 2-3 months that you have been in training have been almost a waste of your time. So that's why I use the phrase, be your own advocate. If you want to come to Prime and be a tanker driver, and Prime says to you, hey, we don't have a tanker driver right now, but you can get out on the road and do reefer, that's your call if you want to switch. If you want to do reefer at the beginning, if I were you, though, I would encourage you to stay on top of talking to your trainer's fleet manager, contacting the head of the tanker division, saying, you remember me? Don't forget about me. I'm over here in a reefer truck. I want to switch at the nearest opportunity. And make sure you don't waste that time, because if you get a week or 2 in of miles on the reefer side and then you switch over to a tanker TNT instructor, those miles probably are going to count for you. You will not have lost that amount of time. But if you don't sit there and be the one to say, remember, I'm wanting to be a tanker driver, you're not going to hear anything from Prime. They're going to assume you are a happy camper on that reefer truck, and you are on your way to upgrading as a reefer driver. If you do not take the onus on yourself to make sure that you are being taken care of for what you want to do with your career. So don't get to the end of training and say, boy, I wish I would have switched, because it's so much more difficult than if you would have done it at the beginning, or at least reminded them, hey, don't forget about me, I need to switch divisions. So just a note on switching it now. And again, if you've been with Prime for a year, that's a year after you get your CDL. If you have a year experience under your belt, it's much easier to switch divisions. You can most likely go to just boot camp. And I know I've talked about boot camp before. It's a 2-day class in Springfield. They make sure you know how to run a pump on the truck, run the in-transit heat. There's some videos. There's some tests you have to take. Personally, if I had a year of experience not driving a tank truck and then they just put me in that class and then threw me out on the road, I would prefer to have a little more help. Because you're never going to experience everything in 2 days that you would experience in 2 or 3 months on a truck. But that's another topic for maybe another video. But at any rate, if you want to do tanker, make sure everybody knows about it and be your own advocate. And don't wait until the last minute. So, just wanted to do a video on that. Hope you guys continue to want to come to Prime and enjoy these videos. Thanks for watching. Again, a link in the description will take you right to the Prime application. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you again next week.